Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is 6:19 a.m. East Coast time. I'm shooting this on Sunday, September 1st. We're going to take a look at this Thursday night $1 million to first. $1 million to first showdown slate between my Green Bay Packers. Yes, I own the team. I have like a 0.00000. We can be here. I can put this on a loop 1% stake in them in Green Bay. Yeah, I own them. They're my team, so I'm going to tell you what to do because I know what they're going to do today or on Thursday. No, but for real, we're going to be going through this. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is the first week of the NFL season. I'm so happy. I grew my channel. I started out last October with 100 subscribers. We're about to hit 7,000. Maybe we have by the time you're watching this video. So if you get any value from this video, hit the subscribe button. My name is Sal Vetri. I do cover daily fantasy sports in the NFL, NBA, WNBA, yes, very profitable DFS sport over the past couple of months for me, and then the MLB streets. If you have any interest in the description below, there are 2 free strategy guides, one for NFL. I have an NFL daily fantasy course that is going to be $50 off, 33% off until the end of week 1, which is going to be Sunday or Monday, I guess. Monday, the end of week 1. And then also down below, I do have a Patreon where I will be going live on Patreon exclusively. I have content, my tiers. I'm going to rank this Thursday night slate, my interest from tier A, B, C, D, all the way down in terms of where I'm getting at my plays. That is going to be Patreon exclusive. All that is linked down below. You can follow me on Twitter at SalVetriDFS. But the biggest thing, if you could hit that subscribe button if you get any value, if this video is different than something you've seen, I've been putting a ton of work into this. I'm doing this now full time. So I do appreciate the subscribe. It does cost nothing for you and it helps me grow and potentially reach third-party advertisers. So thank you so much. Let's get into it. So I already did my first look video. By the time you're watching this, maybe it's Thursday, Wednesday. I already did my initial breakdown of the slate. So you can see that I'm somebody who utilizes data quite a bit personally. And I'm just going to make this look a little bit prettier by centering it. There you go. So we'll look at the target offense sheet to start, and then I'll get into some things that I'm going to be looking at. And let's just start with Showdown Strategy in general. A lot of guys are way too cheap for week 1 of the Showdown because they posted it way too long ago. Leave money on the table. If you're going to be playing in this massive showdown contest that has, oh my God, I don't even know how many people are in this contest. Let's see. Wow, 294,000. Obviously, I don't know if that's going to fill, but 294,000, you can't win the whole thing. And maybe you're fine splitting it with 5 people. If you're splitting like $250,000 since $1 million is first, that's fine. But if you want a good chance to win this, you can't do what everybody else does. Simple as that. And again, you can split it with tons of people, but I'm more so interested in winning the whole $1 million. So the best way to do that is to get different. One, obviously in the captain spot, you can stay different, and that's the best way to do it, but also leave money on the table. In all my showdown lineups, and I have a few tickets, and I'll probably play a couple extra lineups, I'm going to be leaving a minimum of $1,000 on the table. Sally, you're crazy. No, I'm not. So many guys are underpriced on this slate. So many guys you can get to and leave $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 on the table, in my opinion, and still have an optimal build that can win a tournament, especially $1 million tournament like this one. Again, we're going to get into it, but let's just look right now at the target offense sheet. So I can't block out all these because it's conditionally formatted, but I'll block out as much as I can because I'm only focusing on these top 2 lines right here. So what we can look at here, and these are going to use last year's stats, including this week's implied totals. So you can see that Green Bay has the Bears have a 24.75 implied total today, and Green Bay is going to have a 21.75. So decent implied totals around the board for a game with a 46.5 total in this game. The pace is going to be good. You have Green Bay. They played at a pretty quick pace last year under Mike McCarthy. Now Matt LaFleur, who played at a slower pace in Tennessee, but we know Aaron Rodgers and that offense want to play faster. And then you have the Bears under Nagy, who are playing at a fast pace. Pace just means number of plays ran in the game, 128.91. That's going to be Thursday night. But if you compare it to the rest of the week's slate, that's going to be top 4. Or actually, that's the 3rd highest paced game on the entire slate. So you're going to get a lot of plays here. What that means is just skilled position players are going to have more upside. What that means is that you're probably going to have more upside on a defense in terms of just more plays for potentially sacks, forcing pressures, turnovers, things like that. So higher pace usually leads, if you have bad teams running at the helm, the quarterbacks are bad, more inefficient. Higher pace usually leads to potentially some turnovers. I think these quarterbacks are both okay. Trubisky obviously on a different level below Rodgers, but I'm not going to be too interested in defenses here. The Packers defense is much improved, but in general, just talking about the slate, the things that I want to focus on are the Bears, running backs, the new running back that they have, David Montgomery. The things I want to focus on, Green Bay, the underpriced everywhere on this slate is what I want to focus on. And I'm leaving probably $3,000 on the table in most of my tournament lineups because it's so easy to. So let's go down into these specific stats. I have these things ranked, and it's early. It's Sunday, right? So I'm going to be coming back live. So set this reminder, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get reminded. I'll be live before lock for an hour. for this showdown slate before it locks on Thursday night. And then I'm a Packers fan, so I'm going to be watching the game. These are my interests as of right now. So my top tier interest, there's 5. It's Davante Adams, it's Aaron Jones, it's David Montgomery, it's Geronimo Allison, and Robert Tonyan. No, that does not mean Fred or Joe Schmo, whoever's watching this, that you go into your Draftkings and you click all their names and you put them in that order. No, that's not what that means. We got 5 days to lock. You have to be different. You have to leave money on the table. I haven't even looked at this in terms of on Draftkings, in terms of how they all fit in based on price. Because right now I don't care. I'm breaking down the slate 5 days before. I don't have to get my stuff in there. Just let you know, you're not going to win. You're not going to win the million if you're watching this. Just telling you that right now. But if you want to have some fun, this is going to be the best advice you're going to get out there on Showdown, in my opinion, for free at least. So Davante Adams, clear interest. Going to be Aaron Rodgers said he wants to throw to him more than he already did last year when he was the best receiver in the league outside of maybe DeAndre Hopkins. So Davante Adams is just a clear guy, but you're going to have to pay for him. $12,600. I think he's a guy I get into most, if not all of my lineups, but I'm not going to force him into the captain spot if I don't think he needs to be fit there. Aaron Jones, a guy they've been very careful with in the preseason, not playing him at all. He seems to be fully healthy from this ankle injury. They said that he's going to receive more passing work. Ding, ding, ding. If you know me, I love pass catching running backs. Aaron Jones receiving more of that passing work is going to be fantastic. David Montgomery. If you don't know who David Montgomery is by now, you've been living under a rock. He's this just absolute monster that the Bears have in their backfield, running back, rookie. He's pretty much taking now the 3-down back responsibilities. Matt Nagy already said that Tariq Cohen's role is going to be decreased. Tariq Cohen is not going to get nearly as many snaps, definitely not going to be running in between the tackles, and not as many 3rd-down pass-catching snaps. They want David Montgomery to be a 3-down back. Also, Mike Davis is now in the Bears, the guy from Seattle, if you remember the pass-catching back there. Mike Davis is also going to take away some pass-catching duties, not much, but a little bit from Tariq Cohen. Cohen's going to be used much more sparingly this year. So if you own him in a season long, I wouldn't want Tariq Cohen. I mean, you're not going to drop him at this point, but I would not have drafted him. David Montgomery, at his price point of $8,200, I imagine he'll be one of the most popular captain options because he's easy to fit into that slot, and he's going to probably touch the ball in this game 20 plus times against the defense for the Packers that has honestly improved. Very much improved their defense. They spent a lot on their front. They spent a lot on their secondary the last year to two. But really, their linebackers, Blake Martinez is fantastic at tackling. But the linebackers is the weak spot. They had some injuries already in camp. David Montgomery is just going to be an absolute force this year. He's way too cheap. Geronimo Allison at 7,400. Everybody's on the MVS hype train, and I get it. He'll probably be in the slot the most, and I do believe that the slot is the best for skilled receivers because they can use their versatility with the entire field instead of just being on the outside running go routes for the most part. And you have Davante Adams garnering a lot of attention. So if you have MVS in the slot, it's going to make sense. But Geronimo Allison last year, in the 4 to 5 games before he got injured, whatever it was, he was just balling out. Rodgers was targeting him 6.5 times per game. He was either having a touchdown or more than 60 receiving yards in all of those games. He's a force. He'll be on the outside opposed from Davante Adams, one-on-one coverage most of the game with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback and probably lower owned since the entire fantasy industry is all over MVS in the slot. Again, I love the slot for talented wide receivers. I think MVS is a talent. I just don't view him the same as like a Chris Godwin or a Tyler Boyd who's going to be in the slot. Now, maybe he'll get there, but I don't view it at least for week 1, especially because I imagine he'll be highly owned. And then last year, as I just quickly click on this, last year the Bears were giving up tons of points, fantasy points to the wide receiver position. Again, we might not want to translate that fully to this year, but they were giving up a very good amount to the wide receiver position. 42.5 fantasy points per game is one of the higher ones in the league. And then Robert Tonyan, he's $200. Tight end for the Packers. If you don't know who Robert Tonyan is, you've also not been paying attention during the preseason, which is probably most of you. He was okay last year. He caught a long, deep touchdown pass against Seattle, and that was really it on a Thursday night game. But he's been being used a ton, getting hyped up by Aaron Rodgers in camp. Lots of preseason action, which usually isn't good, but this is good in terms of his case because they want him on the field more. You clearly have Jimmy Graham, but in my opinion, as a Packer fan and somebody who follows this league very closely, Jimmy Graham was very close to being cut by this team. The new general manager, Gutenhurst, he is fine cutting anybody. He doesn't care if he made a bad decision. He does not care if it looks bad on his part. He's cutting anybody he wants. He's not keeping bad players on the roster. Jimmy Graham was really close. Robert Tonyan, for $200, he's very risky. He's a tournament-only play. You shouldn't be playing cash anyways for a showdown in terms of head-to-heads or 50-50s, but he's a tournament-only play. Now, for $200, if you put him in the captain spot, I wouldn't do that. But what do you need out of him? You probably need like 2 catches. If he finds his way in the end zone, he's going to win you a tournament or at least get you pretty highly up there. Robert Tonyan, $200 is a mistake. He should probably be somewhere in the $2,000 to $3,000 range. Nobody's going to really know. They're going to sleep on him. I would only say this. If you're watching my video, a lot more people are going to know about him and probably play him. Don't play him and then come back here saying he got 0 points. There's a much higher chance that he gets 0 points in this game than he scores a touchdown or gets you 5 to 10 fantasy points. But that's the risk that you have to take in showdowns to try and win $1 million. He's somebody that I have a lot of interest in. I listed him as an A because I believe he's going to be on the field a ton. The Packers have 3 tight ends that they're going to be utilizing: Jimmy Graham, Mercedes Lewis, and Robert Tonyan. Jimmy Graham clearly will be on the field for a good amount. Mercedes Lewis is mainly going to be a blocker and a running on the goal line type of guy. Robert Tonyan will be catching passes. Now, the snap percentage, I don't know. It could be as low as 10%. It could be as high as 20%. If it's somewhere in between, I take him at $200 when I think he's about $2,000 to $3,000 too cheap for this slate. My secondary options, Aaron Rodgers. Look, the quarterbacks are both going to be here, Aaron Rodgers and Mitch Trubisky. It's mainly because they're overpriced. $12,400 for Rodgers and $11,600 for Trubisky. They're just overpriced. Like, I would much rather play Devontae Adams, who can score fantasy points much easier. Even if he doesn't score a touchdown, if he catches 5 balls for 80 yards, he's at 13 points. If Aaron Rodgers, just to get to those 13 points, has to do much, much more, right? He has to throw for 200 plus yards and a touchdown or 2. The upside there at those price points is not there, in my opinion. I'd rather have Adams and get some leverage of that Aaron Rodgers points if he's going to be throwing the ball to Adams a ton. I don't care about the double points. It's just so expensive to want to get there. You force yourself into a lineup that a lot of other people have. You force yourself into, in my opinion, a bad lineup by playing 1 to 2 of those quarterbacks plus an Adams or another high-priced guy. I'd much rather play the high-priced skill position guy, leave money on the table. Right now, they're B interests of mine because I haven't really built much lineups. But I'm probably not going to get to much Aaron Rodgers or Mitch Trubisky. They both have good rushing upside. Trubisky probably more than Rodgers, but Rodgers is a very sneaky rushing quarterback. Again, 30 rushing yard upside is there for both of them, but it's not like this is Kyler Murray it's not like this is Cam in terms of that there's 40 to 50 yard upside in the rushing game and rushing upside in the red zone all the time. So rushing quarterbacks clearly have more upside, more fantasy points, and there's touchdowns, a lot easier fantasy points on the ground, 10 yards per point instead of 25 yards per point through the air. But they're interests, right? They're Bs, but they're not going to be my main interest. Allen Robinson, now 2 years removed from this injury, looked fine last year. Another year in the offense to be this de facto number 1. Keep an eye on Anthony Miller. He's a C interest for me right now. They said he should be ready for week 1. He's probably going to be, he says he's not going to be limited, but he probably will be limited based on his injury. Keep an eye on that, because if Anthony Miller is out, there's going to be a lot more attention going to Allen Robinson, both from the Packers defense, but also just from Mitch Trubisky throwing him the ball. More opportunities in terms of targets and looks is always great. That's the number 1 thing for wide receivers and tight ends, pass catchers in DFS. So he's going to be an interesting guy to me at 8,600. He seems underpriced by a decent amount. Taylor Gabriel at 6,200. So this is the guy who sees the biggest bump. If indeed you're going to get Anthony Miller out, Taylor Gabriel, who's right now probably the number 3 wide receiver behind Gabriel or behind Anthony Miller. Miller probably lines up in the slot, splits them with Taylor Gabriel. Gabriel, for the most part, being the slot receiver. I love the slot for wide receivers, like we said. Taylor Gabriel was a guy who excelled there last year in this offense. Only $6,200. Taylor Gabriel is the low ADOT guy that if he sees 6 targets, catches 5 of them for 40 yards, that's fine. That 9 fantasy points is actually pretty good at his price point. And then he always has the touchdown upside. He's a B interest. I'm not going to get too much into the kickers. I'm not going to get too much into the defenses. I don't have interest in the Bears defense against Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers in the first game last year, you saw him absolutely torch this Bears same defense. This Bears defense was number 1 pretty much last year. Defenses regress 100% the next year. The Jacksonville Jaguars were number 1 2 years ago. They regressed to number 6, and that was actually lucky in terms of not dropping that much. Most defenses on average regress by 8 to 9 spots. So if you're a Bears fan and you think this defense is going to be the number 1 defense again, just look at the stats. That's never happened. It's not going to happen. Maybe they'll be top 5. They won't be number 1 again. They're due for regression. You do not score that many touchdowns on defense and be that high scoring of a defense and then keep that the next year. A lot of that is luck for the first part. Yes, forcing pressure leads to turnovers, but for getting pick sixes, fumble recoveries for 6, that is not something that is sustainable. So, and if you want to drop into the comments and say something, you can. Just make sure you're there with some backed up analysis and not just, yeah, they will be, I think they look good. Because trust me, I've been doing more research than you, then if that's going to be your take. So yeah, defense is not much. I mean, the Packers, if anything, because they've signed a lot more guys this year, their defense is built up. But even then, I don't really care too much because there's a high total right now, over 25 for this Bears team on offense. So we're not going to have much interest there. The kickers, always in play. Kickers are in play because they're cheap. $3,200 for Crosby, $3,400 for Pinheiro. These are the guys who made the team. Sam Ficken was cut by the Packers. It was a close call. Honestly, they're too cheap. The kickers will probably start to get priced up closer to the 5K range like they did last year. Mason Crosby at $3,200 is fine. I like him. I think both kickers are in play. That's why I have them as B interest. If you want to squeeze them in, they allow you to do really anything you want with your lineup. So yeah, I'm going to change my interest on these defenses to C's. Actually, as I go through this, I'm going to have no interest in the Bears defense, to be honest with you. So change that. And then Trevor Davis. So Trevor Davis made this Packers team. He had an awesome week 3 of the preseason. He's looked very good. He's probably the number 4 or 5 wide receiver. The other guy in that 4 or 5 wide receiver for the Packers is Jake Kumerow. So these two guys are going to be B and C interest for me, because here's the deal. You have Devontae Adams, who's going to see a ton of targets. You have Geronimo Allison and then MVS. Those 3 guys are going to be on the field for the far majority of the game. You'll have Trevor Davis and or Jake Kumerow coming in here and there for probably 10 to 15% of the snaps. Now, that's not fantastic, but for $200 for Davis and $600 for Kumerow, these guys are both the 4 and 5 wide receivers on the team. They're going to see snaps. I'm not saying there's going to be an injury to make them see more snaps, but in limited snaps, if they each have 2 to 3 or 2 targets in this game, that's enough that in a 290,000 person field makes them valuable at a price tag of $200 to $600, similar to Robert Tonyan. I would rather have Trevor Davis than Robert Tonyan. Honestly, so I'm actually going to make Trevor Davis an A interest and Robert Tonyan a B interest, because they're the same price. And Trevor Davis probably sees a little bit more snaps, and also he's a special teams kickoff returner, so there's upside there in the kickoff department, more so than Robert Tonyan has. Jake Kumerow, probably the number 4 wide receiver. I haven't looked at the Packers depth chart officially as it dropped yesterday in terms of where they ordered Trevor Davis and Kumerow. But if Davis is number 4, then I'm going to have all the interest in the world. If Kumerow is number 4, he's going to move into sort of a B interest for me as we go through this. $600 is too cheap. Again, I have much more interest in Adams. I have much more interest in Allison. I would even have interest in MVS, not at his price tag of $6,800 over those guys who are $200 and $600. But just keep in mind, like, if you want to win a 290,000 person field, you're going to have to play somebody that you don't feel comfortable playing, and you're probably going to lose more times than not. But if it binks, yeah, you just binked $1 million. So the other C interest, Anthony Miller, just in case he comes back, and then MVS, the other Packers receiver. So if Anthony Miller comes back, he's probably limited, so he leans to be not an interest of mine, but we'll see. Here's some things. Sal, why do you have no interest in Tariq Cohen? Because he's $8,400. The guy who's going to actually see all the snaps in this backfield is only $8,200. DraftKings fucked up that pricing. Tariq Cohen has already been said by his head coach, Matt Nagy, that he will not see anywhere near as much snaps as last year. They gave him too many snaps, and that his body cannot handle that. That is the exact quotes kind of paraphrase. So I have no interest in Tariq Cohen, who's more expensive than the better back, who will see probably 20 plus touches compared to Tariq Cohen's 6 to 8 in this game. So no interest in Tariq Cohen. Equanius St. Brown, the Packers, who was going to be their number 4 to 5 wide receiver, ahead of probably Kumerow and or Trevor Davis. He's going to be out for 46 weeks. He's on IR, I believe, to start the year. I'm not sure if he's on there the whole year. And then really no interest at the bottom. So if I quickly filter this so we can get our updated interests, again, I'm shooting this early in the week. I will be back on Thursday before lock with an updated list, and also on Patreon I will have my tiers for this updated throughout the week. Whoops, did not want to do that. That was messed up. I have to do H here. So I'll have my tiers. There it is, updated interest. So I'll have my tiers throughout the week. You can get those down below on Patreon. You can get my NFL DFS course, how I make these stat sheets, how I think through DFS, how to make money in NFL DFS. That is linked down below as well. $50 off until Monday, so you have a week to get it for 33% off. This is my interest as of right now. In no ranking order. Obviously, the ranking order becomes A, B, C, but these names are just filtering differently due to the way that Google Sheets is filtering. So yes, Trevor Davis is a very interesting player to me because he's only $200. He will be the special teams kickoff, definitely punt returner, probably kickoff returner, and he'll probably be on the field as a wide receiver for 10 to 15% of the snaps. Similar things can be said about Robert Tonyan, the Packers tight end. Similar things can be said about Jake Kumerow, who's $600. So these are my interests to start. If this video helped you or you thought it was valuable or different in any way, please hit that subscribe button. It helps me grow, helps this channel reach new heights. I want to hit 10,000 subscribers in the next month to 2 months, and I'm very excited to. I put all my work into this. It's my full-time job now, so I appreciate you guys tuning in. Follow me on Twitter at SalVetriDFS. Hit the subscribe button. Check out the description below. Not only is there some things that you can pay for down there, there's free things as well. So my name's Sal. You already know that. Best of luck with whatever you're doing today. Peace out, gang.
Hey, hold up. 1 second. Check out this page. If you haven't yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button, all right? And if you're interested in Patreon, if you're not already a Patreon, you can hit that button on Patreon, become a Patreon. It will take you right there. You can also check me out on Twitter at SalVetriDFS. And hey, if you're interested, this next video that's about to pop up, why don't you check it out as well. See ya.